It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. We're going to talk about, as we inch closer to the Windows anniversary update, we're going to talk about what's in it, what to expect, updates that are coming, and what 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 means. Mary Jo Foley's got a beer built on chocolate. We're going to talk about dynamics and why CRM is in your future. It's a great Windows Weekly. Up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 473, recorded Wednesday, July 6th, 2016. Mary Jo storms out. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/windows. And by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your home. Go to ring.com/WW and get $50 off one of their Ring of Security kits, the Bundle Kit or the Pro Bundle Kit, with this limited time offer. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we talk about Windows and Microsoft and Xbox and all that stuff every week. What, huh? Stuff and nonsense. Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com, the author of many a book at nanopubsweekly.org.
.co.
Leanpub.com. .co. .uk. Leanpub.com.
Brexit.co.uk.
Yes.
Exactly.
He's Brexiting. Mary Jo Foley is also here. She's with the ZDNet folks, and her blog is all about Microsoft.com. And
so biased.
Yeah, really. Like, really. What's wrong with Linux, huh?
Right.
Jerk.
What
Jerk.
the heck?
Why do you hate Linux so much?
I know.
So,
yes.
how was your party at the new Rattle and Hum?
It was good, I think. We had a good turnout.
Do you remember anything?
The thing I most remember is trying to get Paul and all the equipment and Paul's suitcase from the Microsoft store to the new Rattle and Hum on the subway at rush hour.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
we should have periscoped that.
We took the subway.
Do they have, like they do in Tokyo, pushers and white gloves that just shove you and your equipment in the door?
We needed it.
Yeah. Wow. Is it pretty jammed, the subway there? And
It was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad because I think a lot of people had left for the holiday weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I hadn't taken the subway in New York in quite a while.
I always take
Years.
the subway.
Years and years.
It's the only way to get around New York.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But it was hot.
I walked there from the train in the morning, and it wasn't bad. I stuck to the shadows, as I would. So, but it got really hot that day. And, summer in New York City is not refreshing.
No.
It is not.
Refreshing. It's not like...
It was great. We had a great show at the place, which was nice. It went off very well, technically, I think. And a good group of people. And we took them down to Rattle and Hum. We hung out there for a while. It was nice.
Yep.
Do you enjoy any beers in particular? I don't know why I'm beating this dead horse.
Well, actually, so Mary Jo had a pick last week, and was that a Barcelona beer, or what was that beer from last week?
It was a Barcelona beer.
Because there was a bunch of that there.
There was.
Which was kind of interesting. And what was the name of that pizza place we went to afterwards?
Vezzo.
Vezzo. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
New York
by
pizza.
the way, that night, we got separated. There was a group of us, and I think Mary Jo and Brad and I went over there first and ate, and then everyone else showed up. And I was like, I have to leave. I'm so dead. I have never fallen asleep this hard or this fast in my entire life. I was so dead that night.
You worked hard.
I mean, I just
that stuff
literally,
around.
I was looking at my phone and kind of donked the head off of it. Like I just,
Clonk.
it's like, okay, time to go to bed.
Out.
Yep.
Sometimes, you know, I'm not a super fan of sleeping in hotels, but sometimes it's nice because there's no concerns. You know, you don't have to lock up. You don't have to worry about the kids, the dog, the cats. In my case, the dozens of cats.
Yeah, really, the growing family.
The growing family of cats. Sure. You just sleep, and so there's something to be said for that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but I find the low rumble, the low traffic of high-heeled boys going. I love the of New York City at night.
You're thinking of a different city, Leo.
Oh yeah, low spark of high-heeled boys is somewhere else. But I just love that. I love that. It's a soothing, because I was born there, and so my first 2 or 3 years were spent there.
It's like being in the womb.
It's probably, to me, it is probably in the womb. Yeah.
No, for me, when I'm not somewhere where there's a lot of background city noise, I cannot sleep.
Yeah. I always have something like a fan or something, just to have some noise, you know.
Yeah.
Or the hipster soundtrack with the French cafe.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me get that for you.
Oh no.
Oh.
I think I traveled just enough to enjoy that time, you know, because you get to usually a king-size bed in a hotel, and it's just yours. And I can kind of spread eagle on it. And
there's nothing you can do. There's no honeydews. There's nothing. You might have some things at home you need to do, but you can't do them. So
they're not happening today.
Not today.
Yeah.
So while I wouldn't want to do that all the time, every once in a while, that's really nice. It's refreshing. Yeah. So on with the Microsoft news. We've put it off as long as we can.
Yep. Sorry. It's going to have to happen eventually.
Hey, it's your beat. What can I say? Surface rumors. A hardware launch this fall, we think, yeah?
Right. I know. This is kind of a surprise. We were thinking that Microsoft wasn't going to do its own hardware launch this year, that maybe next year would be the earliest we'd see new Surface branded stuff. But now the tipsters are talking, and they're saying there is going to be a fall hardware launch. And from people I'm talking to, it's a little bit uncertain exactly what's going to be in that launch. The kind
I'm
of
thinking not Windows Phone. I'm thinking
not Windows Phone, probably. But worst case scenario is all OEM machines. I mean, that's not really worst case, but it's worst case if you want a Microsoft machine.
Isn't that what IFA is for?
Yeah, pretty much.
So why? You know,
and IFA's when? September?
Yeah, September.
Very end of October. I think. I'm sorry, of August.
We're sending people out to IFA this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be
Berlin,
at least
right?
Berlin.
Yeah, it's always Berlin, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think there is going to be a Microsoft event that'll be separate from that, and they will have at least one thing that is a Surface thing, most likely some version of either the Surface or the Surface Pro, with just kind of some minor updates to it. Not something like a brand new form factor, not something with some new killer, specs or something crazy. It'll just be kind of like, and here's the next version of. And we're not sure if it's Surface or Surface.
Do you think it's a new version like that, really? Like, you think they would put out a new Pro or something? Or do you think it's just...
They could do like a Pro 4, right? They could for the holiday.
Well, they have a Pro 4. I mean, you mean like a Pro 5?
Sorry, I mean Surface 4. They could
Surface
do just
4.
like a plain old Surface 4 for the holiday.
What's the difference between the Pro and the Surface?
The regular Surface is Atom.
Okay.
Surface Pro is Intel Core.
Much slower storage.
So it's just a lower end.
Smaller screen.
Surface. Plain old Surface.
Surface and Surface Pro.
I actually think the biggest mistake they made with that, other than maybe the storage, was not making it the same form factor, because then it could have shared, the keyboards and the accessories and stuff. And I think that would have been kind of smart. I'm also kind of hoping
a line of products like most PCs.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hopefully for next gen they get rid of that Surface connector, which has done nothing for them. They've never really built anything off of it, and just replaced it with USB-C, which is a nice standard. Use any docking station with it. Be a smart thing to do.
So great.
Yep. Could be that.
You think there'll be
we don't know.
a new Surface Book?
Not this year, I don't think.
Ever?
Yeah, I do think there will be.
Yeah,
I think next year.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
So they're not. I think so. Panos Panay is committed to the clothespin.
It's their MacBook Pro. It's their expensive device. It's not going to sell It's not, you know, in big numbers, but it's a premium device. It probably has a nice profit margin on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's aspirational. You want, you know, it's the type of thing Microsoft people can bring to events. It's really nice.
And it's made for people who are very much into using the pen, right? That's a very big audience for that.
Right.
So.
Yep.
But you know what's funny about these hardware rumors is we started hearing them. I started hearing them. I think Windows Central was hearing them. And then suddenly there was a guy who was an Indian software developer who kind of combed through that Panos Panay video that we saw last week. And he zoomed in on this thing that is in the Surface office, and it has a placeholder plaque that says Surface 2016.
Oh, wow. People are really good at this.
Oh, people are good at this stuff. I know.
Yeah.
And it also had 3 plaques for 2017. And, you know, it doesn't definitely mean there is a Surface in 2016 or 3 of them in 2017. It could be
doesn't it?
like a new pen. Yeah, it could be a new pen. It could be a new
I don't know.
keyboard.
I don't know. Pro
I kinda
5,
think it's a
Book
new-
2, Surface
Yeah,
Phone, I think
same.
is next year.
Surface All-in-One.
Surface
Oh, yeah,
All-in-One
so we
maybe
should
this
talk
year.
about
Maybe that's what this year is.
Yeah. That
So
I would say that would
think
get
no.
garner some. You don't think so?
No,
I don't think this year. I think next for all-in-one.
that's too bad.
Why
I'd
not?
really like to see them do that.
Because one of my tipsters said, "Don't look for brand new form factors from us this calendar year."
So I feel like that's missing from the line.
Yeah.
If there's a successful desktop form factor, it's the all-in-one. I mean, they've got laptops and they've got tablets covered. They don't have a desktop.
Yeah. And it's also a place where, you know, it's funny, Microsoft with Surface is doing what Apple has done for a long time, which is not really inventing new markets, but kind of formalizing a market and making it a thing. You know, even it's stuff that's been around for a while. And we have PC all-in-ones where you can kind of drag the screen down. You can detach the screen. Even, you know, Lenovo makes a machine like that. And so all the sorts of things you think about, you know, what could a Surface all-in-one be? In many ways, they've all been done. But I think a Surface quality all-in-one to go head-to-head with an iMac with enough of those Surface touches still makes some sense. And it's also, by the way, one of the few small growth areas in the PC
Or I think you guessed this, and I'm kind of guessing this too. Or maybe it has something to do with the idea of kind of like a Surface Hub for the home.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So
Yeah, because when you look at the Surface
right now,
Hub,
yeah,
Surface Hub is
they're
it's
giants.
interesting. It's not a personal computer, right? It's a
No.
collaboration device. It's designed for teams of people to use together. No one signs into it. You don't link up to your OneDrive account or whatever. It's for multiple people. But all-in-one computers, not always. I mean, obviously some people just use them, but a lot of times it's a family you're not using it simultaneously. You know, you all have your own sign-ins, but you could. It's not entirely out of bounds to think of this thing as a smaller Surface Hub in a way. You know, it's not for work, it's for home, but in, you know, those situations, I could see it.
And, you know, it makes sense with all this focus they have right now on like sticky notes for families, right? Like it kind of fits in like, hey, this would be your family meeting place or your whiteboard or where you could save notes for your other family members
Would be
to
intriguing,
see.
wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually have a collaborative family space.
Put it in the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it on the refrigerator.
And then
That's
think about
interesting.
this.
Yeah.
You could use it in combination with any phone, a future Surface phone,
right.
or maybe an iPhone.
Right.
Or
As
an
you
Android
approach
phone.
it suddenly comes on the screen. Yep. What price point would they have to get it down to make it viable? I mean, the Pixel Perfect is expensive.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Well, there's a lot of questions here. I mean, Surface devices thus far have been very high resolution. They've been 3x2, which that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for a desktop. You know, an iMac
so
is
you'd want what,
expensive.
27 inches, 27 inches, right? And you
Yeah, I
really
can picture
want to
there being
keep
a
it under
couple of
2,000
sizes, but
for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. It has to be under 2,000.
Ideally,
I would-
not much more than say
yeah,
1,200. Right?
maybe they could have an entry level one for 1,000. I'd like to see a game version of this, right? Something with discrete graphics and the ability to play those Windows games they're promoting right now.
What about a TV? Everybody's always talked about Apple making a TV. If you're going to do that, you could justify a higher expense if it were also a good TV.
You know, I think the reason we haven't seen an Apple TV is that it doesn't fit in their model. Which
No,
is
I understand why Apple
devices.
doesn't do it.
But I mean, it might But I mean,
might make
in the
sense
sense
for
that Microsoft's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Microsoft today has a very expensive and kind of lousy way to get their media stuff into the living room in an Xbox One. They don't have a Roku. They don't have a Chromecast. This thing would just be an even more expensive way to get the stuff in the living room. Right. I'm not saying it's a complete non-starter, but I really think they need that's not who they are, right? I mean, they need a more affordable way to get that stuff going too.
I know. The lowest price Surface Hub right now is $9,000, right? That's the 55-inch.
55-inch. That's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember this? Man, it was like 5-6 years ago. There were rumors about when the Surface was still a table and not what it is today. You know, when it was, I forget what it was called. It was called the Surface, but it wasn't Surface, right? But there were rumors about Microsoft doing a version of that for home, like a tiny table that you could use in the home, like a coffee
slightly
table.
smaller ass table.
Right, as opposed to the big ass table. Remember that parody thing?
Yep.
There was like the little
side
table and the big table, a side table. Yeah, maybe
Big ass
this
side
is
table.
what that is. I don't know. A coffee table that has a multi-touch display.
I've always wanted one of those sit-down Pac-Man machines in my house. Like you used to see at the roller rink or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
This is one of those products where you figured they're probably floating all these ideas, but some guys, some junior executives saying, I'm just spitballing here, and then says a Surface Hub side table. And then the conversation pauses and moves on.
Yeah.
And they're like, no.
No. Yeah, thanks, Joey, but back to the mailroom for you. But you got to figure they're looking at all of this.
I know, you do.
Yeah.
And they actually applied for a patent, I think it was last year or early this year, for an all-in-one device.
Huh.
Right.
That made it look more like a modular PC, more like, just, and they mentioned holographs in it. They mentioned all these things that Microsoft's working on, kind of like you could detach and reattach different peripherals to set it up for different scenarios.
Well, they do have a dock, right? I mean, they have.
Yeah, and actually, I think that is could be the basis for this thing. If you look at the dock, you've got the basic array of ports. I mean, it should have USB-C on it, obviously, but that's the model right there. I mean, most PCs, including iMacs today, use the same chipsets you find in high-end laptops. It's just really applying a bigger screen to it. I don't know. I really feel like Microsoft has had a hard time. The Surface Book is a good example. It's a wonderful machine, but that moment where you unclasp the screen, it's like nobody really does this. Not very many people, and even fewer people would ever want to do that with a gigantic all-in-one, right? Those PCs exist. I know it sounds weird, but there's I can't remember the model name, but there's a Lenovo IdeaPad that is probably a 19-inch screen. You can carry it around like a big laptop if you want. It's got a battery.
I remember seeing it. Yeah.
You can play air hockey on it, and obviously you can paint Vermeer-sized paintings on it for some reason. But I don't really think that's a big deal. A big seller.
What are they?
So I'm betting that device, whatever that thing is next year.
Okay.
I don't think it's this year.
So what we're really talking about is Microsoft as a hardware company.
Yeah. There's an alarming thought.
Well, yeah, and I wonder, I mean, clearly they kind of moved into that category a couple of years ago, but and with the advent of the Surface Book, an actual laptop, it looked like they're maybe even trying to make a complete line.
Yes.
How? But why? I guess I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So in the beginning, the reason was it was Windows 8, remember? And none of their PC Maker partners were going to come out with designs that took advantage of the touch-first nature of Windows 8. And so that's when Microsoft greenlit Surface, right, and made that happen. Just kind of show the industry what this could be like. The first versions weren't great. They've adapted it over time, but we've talked about this before. I don't think it's coincidental that virtually every single major PC maker has come out with a copy of Surface Pro, right? This is a device that's done very well in the market. It's done very well with businesses. And I think to kind of clear the air a little bit with these people who are not necessarily excited that this thing exists, Microsoft has allowed the PC makers to copy it. So in some ways that's success though, right? Because that was the goal, wasn't it? To get those guys to make these kinds of devices. And so you can kind of imagine with an all-in-one them doing the same thing. All-in-ones exist. You can go to Dell.com or HP.com and see a bunch of mostly kind of boring designs. Not all of them. HP has that kind of cool curved screen device, which is really interesting. But that device, if I remember correctly, doesn't have a touch screen, which is one of Microsoft's big things, right? You have to have touch, you have to have pen. You know, they don't they don't want to promote those things that don't have that stuff. And I think for them to formalize a category like this, which is so proud of, with Surface Pro, and rightfully so, maybe, they want to do it again. Surface Book is one attempt. Whatever they do with phone might be another attempt if it ever comes out. And this all-in-one, if it's real, could be, another attempt. It's plausible.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at their mission statement, the Surface team's mission statement is the Surface team focuses on building devices that fully express the Windows vision. So just what Paul said, they want to show off all the things that they're adding into Windows with a showcase device or family of devices. That's what the Surface is. It's meant to showcase all the advances Microsoft's making in Windows.
You could apply it directly to Windows 10 features. It doesn't make sense for a Surface device to come out that doesn't support Pen because the Ink workspace exists in Windows 10 Anniversary Edition or Update. All of these devices should support some form of Windows Hello authentication. Right? They should literally be, I think you said something along the lines of an expression of that Windows 10 software in hardware.
Yep. Right.
Right.
And going forward, we'll somehow figure in with what HoloLens is doing or virtual reality, augmented reality, like all those things are going to become part of what they want to show off with their own hardware.
Even though HoloLens is standalone, you feel like it'll have some sort of integration to something else.
Or at least, how I think it was at Computex they talked about they're working with OEMs to make virtual reality devices that use the holographic, what do they call it? Windows holographic. Yeah.
So it's a platform now as well as
it is
the
a platform.
hardware. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's a little bit like Surface. We've made a thing, and now we're going to let you guys take it too.
Yeah.
And they'll go, and other companies will go.
I think that makes sense for Microsoft. That's kind of makes sense for them as a hardware manufacturer. This isn't a big line of business for us. It's a way of establishing a reference standard.
They want it to be profitable, of course, but it's not important that they achieve necessarily X number of market share, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If this thing inspires the rest of the PC industry to move along with them, I think that is mission accomplished, right? That didn't happen. By the way, it wasn't just Windows 8, to be honest. I mean, I think every Windows release, you could go back in time. PC makers took a lot of convincing, to jump on the latest bandwagon. And Windows 8 was the toughest sell because it was so different. But, as bad as Windows 8 was, the initial release, there were some good ideas in there. And we're starting to see that come to fruition in Windows 10 and later in the anniversary update. Some of the stuff we've been talking about Ink on Windows 10 since 2002.
I know. Yep.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable.
And the next one will be Continuum, right? It'll be like we want our partners to do Continuum. We're doing it. Here's how we're doing it with Surface Phone. Here's how we're doing it with other future Surface devices.
Yeah, not just Windows Phone, right? I mean, Surface Book is where does the design is in some ways, or Surface Pro 4 certainly also is Continuum. Right? It's this notion, you were talking about the possibility of that Surface device being a modular device. It is literally the expression of that software and hardware.
That's
where it can be its own thing with this one tablet screen and you click on a keyboard or add other stuff to it and it becomes something else, or behaves differently. It's the interaction between the software and the hardware. And I think it's important, we can sit here and speculate about what Microsoft might be doing with an all-in-one or a phone or whatever. But you always have to kind of look at it in that light. I think it's not enough just to come out with an iMac. It can't just be, it has to be, there has to be some reason for it to exist. And there has to be some defined market that Microsoft can either create or, formalize or advance in some way. And hopefully the PC maker partners come on board as well.
So, we should mention, though, because people have been asking me this. So just because there's a fall hardware launch does not mean Redstone 2 is now back to being a fall thing.
Yeah.
Redstone 2 which is the successor to the anniversary update, is still, from what I'm hearing from all my contacts, spring 2017.
I asked Microsoft or Microsoft PR around the timing of some recent announcement.
Yeah.
I wrote back and I said, hey, anniversary update's going to come out. So what happens to the Insider program after that? Do we take a little break, or do we kind of just move right on to the next thing? And the response I got wasn't exactly duh, but it was basically duh.
Yeah, Paul.
It just keeps going.
Yeah.
So I've never heard anything about Redstone 2 happening in the fall. Although I guess
originally it was supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, recently, around now.
Yeah.
I would expect it's going to be tied to that spring hardware launch, which is what you wrote probably back in February or March.
Yeah, but here's what's different. So what I thought was going to happen when I originally wrote about this, I thought Redstone 2 spring, and that would be when the hardware launches. But now I'm hearing Redstone 2 spring, let it bake a little, then a hardware launch.
So that's later in the year.
Later in the year sometime.
So
and you know why that makes sense? One word: Skylake.
Yeah, I was just gonna go down that road because
they don't want to do that again.
Right? Surface is still kind of a new business. We're only talking about something that's been around what 3.5 years now, 4 years almost. So we're on the 4th generation of Pro. We're only in the 1st generation of the book. We're on the 3rd gen, I guess, of the Surface, which is really the 1st gen of an Intel kind of thing, for that device. And it's not really clear what the life cycle is, right? We got into a once a year thing. In the very early days, it was even less than once a year. But given what happened with this chipset, it kind of makes sense to drag this one out a little bit, fix the problems, before we move on to the next one. I mean, KB Lake, is that am I pronouncing that right?
Lake.
The next
KB
gen?
Lake, yeah.
I would assume it's going to be KB Lake, and I would further assume they're not going to be right there on the beginning of this one, given what happened last time. Also,
And
just tied into
a
this
spring
real quick,
hardware launch, does that even make sense?
No, not at all.
No.
Well, especially not if you do a fall hardware launch.
Right.
Well,
if you do
back
a fall,
to school makes sense, right? Like the middle of summer makes some sense.
Right. That's when they launched the Surface 3. It was a May availability, right? So a late summer, early fall launch makes sense for, if you want to hit back to school earlier, if you want to hit holiday later. And you know what? Paul and I both talked about this. Maybe they queue everything up to go with Scorpio, Xbox One Scorpio.
Yeah. Right.
Like a really big launch.
But that's holiday next year.
is.
So
That's different market. And
Yeah.
yeah, but
It is.
do business people like it when you get peanut butter in their chocolate?
But does
Hey,
Microsoft
listen,
like it when you say, look at all the Windows 10 stuff we have?
Yeah.
right. Microsoft has a back to school deal now where you get a free Xbox when you buy a Surface of some kind. So,
But that's for
learning.
students.
Yeah.
That's for college
What
kids.
kind of enticement would that be for someone's parents,
I know, it seems like a really bad idea, but
So
okay.
get this straight. It's like, why don't I just buy you a motorcycle and be done with it?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. We don't know
by the
the
way-
exact date of 2017 hardware, but we are now hearing, or I should say I am now hearing not spring.
With regards to the all-in-one, again, with the understanding we have no idea if it's really happening or if it is happening, when it might be happening. I would say that device, if it's real, has a lot less importance tied to the timing of it with regards to chipsets and whatnot, right? Who cares if it has Skylake or some prior or future generation chip? It's not. I think the problems Microsoft's had is specifically been tied to battery life, power management,
Right.
these types of things, which, obviously power management factors into a desktop computer, but it doesn't seem like Skylake-based desktop PCs have had this kind of issue. It might just be because there are fewer of them maybe, but, I think at this point they could come out with a Skylake-based all-in-one and it wouldn't be an issue.
So the bottom line is we don't really know. We're guessing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
we're
Yep.
guessing on a lot of this,
the
but
weekly
we think there
guess-a-thon.
will be a hardware launch this fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I would guess October if they do it when they did it last year.
Okay.
Hopefully not in that same place though, Microsoft.
I know. Yeah.
That was a horrible place to have a launch. I'm sorry.
Where was it? San Francisco?
The old post office.
No.
Oh,
It was in the
that's
old
right.
post office, and the building was so thick you couldn't really get a signal, so we couldn't get phone. We couldn't use our PCs. Or it was just,
I walked by that building when I came to the event last week, and I got one of those chilies down my back. You know?
like a bad feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yep.
Well, that was the Panos Panay reveal of the hinge.
Surface Book.
The detach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that now. That was a good event, though.
Yes. Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, it was good.
The food was nice.
See, I didn't get that part.
I love that you remember that part of it.
That's about all I want to remember in a good way from that event. I stormed out. I almost left the building.
What?
That's when
Really?
Greg blew us off because he almost died. I saw Julie Larson Green. I saw Major Nelson.
I know we saw a lot of our friends, family, but otherwise it wasn't so good.
You stormed out? I can't even.
I did.
I can't even
She did,
imagine
that's true.
you
That's right.
storming out.
I did. I stormed out because I couldn't get a signal, and I'm like, I'm here to file stories and to tweet,
is
and
not
I can't even
working.
get a signal.
It's not working for me.
So I started
somebody
running
grabbed
out of the
you, right, and pulled
building,
you up.
and they chased me down and brought me back.
We're sorry, Mary Jo. We're sorry.
You ever see like when a cheetah takes down an antelope or something? They like stopped her right at the door.
It's so cold.
They did. They like tackled me. I was about to step outside, and suddenly I was on the ground.
That's a testimony, a tribute to your importance, to your
I
value.
would have done the same thing, but it would have been a 3.5-hour train ride before I could get home.
Yeah.
So,
They kept yelling at me, "Where do you think you're going to go?" I'm like, "I'm going to go to a bodega and get a signal, and I'm going to."
Where do you think you're going to go? Really? It's called Manhattan. There's a
Do you have
few
any idea how
places I
dangerous
could
this
go.
is?
Hey, the Yale Club has a lovely breakfast, I hear.
I could have gone there.
I heard about that too, although I've never experienced it. Got a lot of mileage out of that story, Leo.
It's a good story. It's a good story. I'm still a member just in case they do it at the post
Seriously,
office.
as recently as this month, or the past month, I've gone to an event with a bunch of friends, and someone walked up to me and said, "Paul, you got to tell them that story about the Yale Club."
It's such you do it so well. I'm sorry, sir.
Hello is the minimum.
No. 1 terabyte Surface Pro 4 and book. What do I have? I don't have a terabyte because they didn't have it when I bought it, right?
Yeah, this is. I guess this thing launched in the U.S. and Canada only, possibly the U.K. I can't recall. Let's see what it says. I can't even read this. Earlier this year, let's say. So they're basically introducing it to 10 to 12 new markets, including Australia, Austria, China, France, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. Starting, actually right now, it's already available. Germany and Japan are coming later this month, meaning July. And then Belgium, Ireland, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands later this summer.
Huge Luxembourg market, finally.
Yep.
Finally.
But it does
Sure.
show you that they're now kind of getting their distribution in order for these two systems. I mean, for the Surface Book. So that kind of also hints that they're not going to come out with one this year, right? Like most of the world is
literally
just
gonna
getting
say
it
that.
now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. They would never launch this into this many markets at this late stage in the game if there was a fall update.
That's a
plan.
good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think this
You would
is on
feel
a longer
horrible.
life cycle.
Right. Right.
You would
Yeah,
feel
can you
horrible.
imagine?
You
Well,
buy
especially
it,
how
and
much
then
these things cost.
I know. 2 days
This
later,
is a
here's
I'm
the
sorry,
Surface-
$3,200 product in the United States.
Right.
You know, in England now, given the exchange rate, it's probably $6,000.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. The specs on this thing. Actually, this was a pretty high end.
It's
device.
literally the highest end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come to think of it, and I only have a 256 gig drive, but it is M.2 NVMe. It's an i7. I wish it had more RAM. It only has 8 gigs of RAM, but for a laptop. This is good. It's a good thing. And of course, any day now, it's going to get Windows 10 anniversary. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Paul Thurrott is here. Mary Jo Foley. We're talking about Microsoft. We're talking about Windows. And we're talking about buying a new home somewhere near the old post office. And before you do that, you should go to Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans and get a mortgage. Or if you're shopping, pre-qualify for a mortgage. Rocket Mortgage brings the whole darn diggity-dang process into the 21st century. And I don't know, it's probably been a while since you've gone out and done this. We did it 3 years ago when we bought our house. And the paperwork and the amount of stuff, the sheaf, the folder. I think Lisa still has a file cabinet full of junk because it feels like, and they're faxing things. It feels like a process, straight out of Dickens. I expect, to walk in and to be a clerk at a high desk with a quill pen. Quicken Loans has fixed this. Rocket Mortgages all online. No quill pens involved, although you could use your Surface Pro pencil. Oh, I'm sorry. They call it a pen, don't they? You could use your Mac Pro, iPad Pro pen. You can do this on your phone. You can do it on your tablet. And you can do it in minutes for refinancing or buying a home. It's all online. Love this. With Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and your pay stubs at the touch of a button. You can get approved literally in minutes for a custom mortgage solution tailored just for you and to your unique financial situation. It's fast, it's powerful, it's completely online. Rocket Mortgage. Forget the quill pen and Tiny Tim or Bob Cratchit. You can get your loan right now online from Rocket Mortgage with Quicken Loans. Visit quickenloans.com/windows. Let them know that you saw it on Windows Weekly. Quicken Loan. And if you're shopping for a home, pre-qualify for a mortgage. It's a great idea. Then you're a much more appealing buyer. It's my secret for getting that home you want. For refinancing, for buying a home, for pre-qualifying, go to quickenloans.com/windows. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS consumeraccess.org, number 3030. We thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, Windows Weekly. I am finally doing it. Mm-hmm. I am finally exporting all of my Evernote notes and putting them in OneNote.
Wow.
Well, Evernote raised the rate, raised the fee, as we talked about last week. And you guys, it really hit home because I thought, oh, it's just $1 more. But then you say, yeah, that's the same thing as an Office 365 subscription. And I thought, yeah, that's a little pricey, come to think of it, given what you get. So I'm sitting right in front of Outlook. I downloaded the importer, and I'm going to move it all over. Move it on over. So if I seem a little distracted.
Well, if that works as well as the time I imported my Chrome favorites into Edge, you probably still be working on this a week from now.
What happened? Did you have a problem?
It's like you take all the bookmarks, you put them in a bucket, and then you just shake them around the room.
Yeah.
That's what it did. It was nice. So they were all there.
They're all there. They just, random.
Just require a little bit of maintenance.
It's time. I bet you have bookmarks for sites that don't even exist anymore. It's time to kind of prune.
This thing found bookmarks that literally don't exist anymore. I'm still very confused about that. In fact, there were bookmarks that dated back to years and years ago that are not in Chrome right now. I don't know where they came from, but they were definitely my bookmarks.
So usually what I do is instead of doing some sort of automatic thing is I'll export an HTML file from Chrome and then import it.
Sure.
And that way you get exactly what you think you're going to get. You did so Edge has some sort of pickup.
Well, as we discuss every week, Leo, I have a Windows 10 book, which I'm updating for the anniversary update.
So you have to do it.
So I have to
the approved way.
Just to try it,
Right. And of course, don't forget.
So it's not a great experience.
That's at skinnybooks.com.
Nope.
Tiny little hands.
Tinylittlehands.com.
Lean
Pub.
Trex.co.uk.
Yep. That would be a good handle. I'm going to quickly register that. Trex.co.uk. In fact, let me write that down. Oh, shoot.
I suspect Trex.co.uk was taken a long time ago.
Probably was. Okay. Here we are. This is July 7th, 6th.
6, yeah.
6th, 23 days and counting to the end of the glory days of free Windows 10. And Microsoft doesn't want you to forget it.
Hey, brace yourself, because 1 month from today, what we're going to be dealing with is people saying, wait. You mean I can't get this?
Not anymore? What happened? Then why did they tell me?
Why did you guys tell me this?
Why did anyone advertise this in any way?
Yeah.
This is really so
yeah,
it's
that's bold.
Giant. It's full screen, right?
Well,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know how this appears on the screen,
I haven't
but I
seen
will
it,
tell
of
you,
course, because we're all
if
Windows
you clean
10.
and install Windows 7 or 8.1 today, you actually will see a screen just like this as part of setup. It doesn't say sorry to interrupt it, but it says something like, hey, would you like to try the Windows 10? It's a free upgrade. It looks just like this. So I don't know if, I think the big deal here isn't so much that this thing exists, it's when would you see this?
Right.
Like, is this literally going to come up over the desktop? I don't think so.
It says sorry to interrupt. It looks, unfortunate choice of color. It's blue.
Well,
So-
it's the Windows
Purple.
10 setup color.
Purpley blue.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is important. Windows 10 free upgrade offer ends July 29th. Microsoft recommends upgrading to Windows 10, the most secure Windows ever built.
Yep.
The upgrade is free, and you can easily roll back to your current operating system within 31 days if you decide Windows 10 is not right for you. We'll check for compatibility before starting the upgrade. Over 300 million people have upgraded. Upgrade your PC before the offer ends. Then, the default button, upgrade now. The secondary button, remind me later. There is a notify, I don't know why I may pick this, a notify me 3 more times button.
It's just like Beetlejuice. You have to say it 3 times.
Why? Notify, I've never seen anything like that. Notify me 3 more times. And then
Knock 3 times. Sure.
Not 2, not 4, 3 more times. And then finally, there is a link that says, do not notify me again. You can decline it and not see it again.
By the way, in the scope of Microsoft's efforts to get people to upgrade to Windows 10 is fairly revolutionary.
Yeah.
Would have been nice. I don't like this interrupt thing. I mean, if it really is interrupting, that's kind of what the was.
And let's face it, when people say sorry to interrupt you, they're not actually sorry.
They're never sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just sat in my butter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're not sorry. No. That's passive aggressive. Sorry to interrupt.
Right. Not trying to be a jerk, but
But I am one. Yeah.
It's almost as
I don't
bad
have to
as
try. It comes naturally.
no offense, but you stink.
No offense. Yeah.
No offense.
No offense, but you're running a really out of date version of Windows.
Yeah, they should say that. That would be good. No offense, but you're not running the most secure copy of Windows ever.
You're not running the best copy of Windows per se.
Per se.
You know?
If I were you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now they're also doing, according to your notes here, a kinder, gentler Windows 10 ad. What is that? Oh, that's the pop-up that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I got it.
You finally got it? Oh, you have a
Yeah.
Windows
Oh, you did?
8 machine somewhere?
The Windows 7, yeah.
7? No, and?
So was it kinder? Was it gentler?
It was. Yeah, it's fine. It's actually, when you look at it, you say, yeah, this is what, if it was this on day one, there would have been no complaint. Well, that's not fair. We complain about everything. But there would have been far fewer complaints and far fewer valid complaints.
Yeah.
You know, all the crazy stuff that's happened over the past, whatever it is, 8, 9, 10 months. People getting upgraded against their will because they didn't understand how the box. Microsoft working behind the scenes to change how the Red X worked and all that silliness. If it had just been like this, no controversy.
Yeah.
So, for 30 days, we get something that works the way it's supposed to work, I guess.
Well, they learn. You can't say they don't learn. You can't. You can't say they don't listen. They listen.
I can't always say that. That's true. That's true. Actually, it's funny. You have interesting interactions I have interesting interactions with Microsoft sometimes, and I get on Twitter like I do, and I just complain. I'm just a disaster. And I had gone to Task Manager. I've complained about this. If you go back to my Twitter feed and where somehow able to search it, you would see that approximately every 6 months I make this exact same complaint, which is why doesn't Task Manager have a way to search for running tasks?
Oh, yeah. That'd be
Why?
good. You mean there's no interface?
There's no search box. Yeah, there's nothing. So people will always suggest Process Explorer, right? The system travels to. Yep,
excellent,
absolutely.
Excellent program.
Some other thing you can use. Here's a command line thing that works, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know about all this stuff. Why doesn't Task Manager have this? It's built in.
Yeah.
You know, when Microsoft bought Sysinternals, I thought clearly they're going to make Process Explorer the new
wouldn't
task.
that have been nice?
I know. I can't believe they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But
No.
I'm sorry. Why am I telling you this story? I just told you about the complaint. So
Like,
somebody, sorry, there's a point to the story. Yep. Sorry, get used to that. Someone I've never heard of from Microsoft pinged me and said, you know, that's a great idea. I'll put that in as a request.
They listen.
Nice. Like, you know, okay, nice. So I'm not saying they're going to fix it.
While you're bringing that up, and I've noticed this lately. I feel like people from Microsoft are being way more responsive, at least from the Windows team on Twitter lately. The Edge team, the Windows team, like they actually, when people are complaining about things, they are actually addressing them. And I know that sounds like, yeah,
it's inconceivable.
But it hasn't been like that. So
well, I mean, depending on the company, that doesn't happen at all. Like, anyone ever interact with an Apple employee on Twitter?
Yeah,
I know.
You know,
no, actually, Microsoft's been very good about that. Starting,
and it's been getting even more noticeable and prevalent. I feel like
Gabe All and yeah.
Well, now that Gabe All's gone, all of a sudden the rest of them are opening up.
Yeah, they said, hey, that worked well for Gabe. Yeah.
Yep. His evil reign of terror is over. So
tell him he said so.
He knows he's the best. I don't know. I'm joking.
So, where did he end up?
He's in.
He's still there. He's just working on his real job now.
So he's just not as a public figure as he.
I believe he's still. I think he actually is responsible for building Windows 10. I think that's his job. He's just not. But he's not interacting with the Windows insiders or the public on Twitter anymore.
He probably got bumped upstairs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, quite literally. But he, you know, he's such a.
Well, not
literally.
Literally, would
he's
imply
so
there were
amazing.
stairs.
He got this job last summer and kept doing the Windows Insider thing anyway.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
You know, incredible.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a new preview build just before we signed on. So if you're an insider, where are we now?
With the builds.
Builds.
I believe we're on the same build with both, are we not?
Yep. 14379, right, for both.
Okay.
And the fast ring.
Do we expect more, or we don't know?
Oh, yeah. We'll get one this week at least. Yeah.
They've been doing weekly, in this case, last week, 2 updates.
I mean, the final release is less than a month away.
Yeah. This one seemed like a fairly, I mean, this was a fairly hefty update. It wasn't tiny.
Yeah.
So they're still making some changes.
Yep.
I can't.
Lots of bug fixes and all these.
Yeah, I would guess that's what it is now, right?
We have possibly 10 days before this thing has to be finalized or something, or 2 weeks.
What is the lead time they have? I mean, it's not like they have to print discs anymore.
You know what? This was a topic. We could go back to Windows Weekly from last July. We had this exact conversation. Right. And the reason being that with previous versions of Windows, obviously, you're talking about a 3-year development time and you had to ship disks around the world. It was very different, right?
Right.
With the continual updating system they have in place, it's a lot less important for they're not even going to call it this, but the RTM version of this thing to reach that highest possible level of quality, because within days, everyone can be updated very quickly. So I think the lead time is, we'd have to guess, but a week to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's not like it was in the past.
Right.
It's not like it used to be.
No.
So they could. I mean, yeah. And what is what is the lead time for? Just to make sure there's no showstoppers, to give it to QC and really have them bang on it and have a pizza party and stay up all night and really do a big bug hunt, or what? Well, they used to do that, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they do still say, once they declare internally this is RTW or RTM, they still want to make sure, like, okay, let's do one last check.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, do they do anything special?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not. It's funny. I mean, I guess there have only been 2 major milestones of Windows 10 so far, right? The original and 1511. This will be the third, essentially. But there are, of course, cumulative updates that come out as we go. And, I think handing this thing off to PC makers is not the dramatic thing it used to be. And the ability to slipstream stuff in, even if something went wrong, even after PCs are built, I don't think is all that difficult anymore. I just don't think the process is as onerous as it used to be.
Zach in our chat room is pointing to a tweet from Donna
Sakar, yeah.
Saying, well,
this is the N+1 thing.
Yeah. N+1+1. And then here's one from an hour ago. We're doing some upgrade testing. Make sure all your upgrades are smooth going forward. So no new
It's not actually possible to understand what she means by this, because one of the things that's a little odd about this process is that you're still essentially applying a whole build of Windows to your install, right? In other words, it's not a KB Windows update type update. You know, it's not, we're not updating just parts of it. And I've always been a little curious why that would be the case, right? And I'm wondering
Didn't they say,
I'm wondering
they're trying to do that?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if this tweet may be related to that. In other words, that the deliverable that the public gets for bringing you up to date with this anniversary update maybe isn't the giant build, you know, blasted down from space onto your computer like a gigantic 3 to 4 gigabyte whatever. You know, that maybe it's a Delta install, it's smaller. And simpler,
You know why
right?
that would?
Faster.
You know why that would make a ton of sense? Because
Did you see she wrote some code for you, Paul?
Yeah,
she
yeah,
did.
Boolean build release. While Thurrott is traveling, build release equals get current status. BD Sams is busy. and the comment is Windows Cider need code rev. That's hysterical.
So we might have discussed this, but there's a weird coincidence that has occurred over the past year or so where, not every time, but many times when I'm traveling that day, they release a build.
And they want to do it while you're traveling and while Brad is busy.
Yeah, so when she came on board, I was joking with her. I said, look, I can share my calendar with you. And she said, I'd rather hack into it like we used to do in the past. I said, that's fine. So
I love this. So she's in charge of the Insiders program? She's kind of
but
Gay Ball's replacement, sort of? Or
that's exactly. So the funny thing about
this is the Fibonacci sequence woman.
That's right.
Oh, I love her. She's got such a good sense of humor.
The day that I fly home from France is the day that the anniversary update is coming out.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
So I commented on that when I talked to Terry Myerson. I said, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Yeah. It's like, yeah.
So she says, since you asked Windows Insiders, we are doing N+1 testing, a.k.a. being able to upgrade from build to next to build to next without issue. So this is more about
Delta, right?
I think that's what that means.
They're testing the Delta to make sure it's reliable. And
I'm just surprised we haven't ever tested that in the Insider program, because you're basically just.
But they have to test it with
an entire build.
But they have to test it with the final stuff, right?
I know, but why not? It's weird to me that we haven't tested it yet. So here, let me give you one example of something that happens every single time you install an Insider build. I find this to be vaguely annoying. It resets some defaults, not just for application, default apps, but also some weird defaults. Like Mary Jo probably notices this because she opens WordPad a lot. WordPad will, not WordPad, Notepad will reset to its default position and window size, even if you've modified it.
Right.
And, it's one of those things I kind of notice, it's just because you're basically, Windows is trying to respect whatever custom settings you've made, but there's no thing in Windows to save that, to persist it across, an OS upgrade, right? Whereas if you were just installing a Windows update, that wouldn't have happened, right? And so aside from the size and time element, if you could do a Delta update, essentially just like a Windows update, we're talking about something that has much less of a chance to screw anything up.
And you know why that's going to matter more? Because the free update program ends July 29th, and the new build comes out August 2nd. So say you're somebody who's a laggard, right? You get the new build on July 29th, and then, and here comes another giant build on August 2nd, right? That's, it feels like that's just one example, but one of the reasons why they might want to do this. Right?
People pay a lot of money for internet access in some cases. Downloading a 3 to 4 gigabyte file every single time you want to install a new Windows Cider build isn't necessarily possible for those people.
Yep.
So I guess what I'm saying is I really don't actually understand why we do this the way we do it right now. but I really don't understand why we haven't been testing this kind of thing. Because every time they release a build, I always think, why don't they do this in a more elegant fashion? Maybe it seems like maybe they're trying.
Yeah, I think they had so many different processes to change when they went from Windows as just a once every 3-year thing to Windows constantly being updated that it may take some time just to get that right. They've got a lot of things to change to make all this stuff work. So maybe this is the next thing on the agenda. We should ask Donna. She might tell you.
If only there was some way to find out. Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Somebody said in the chat room they still have to print boxes. I guess they do.
Print boxes?
To sell retail copies, right?
So somebody is going to make some discs. Will there be on the shelf on July 29th?
No. Remember last year it was little USB keys, right? Not discs, for one thing. So
whatever.
They have much easier.
On a medium somewhere, yeah.
Something that works for everybody.
Yeah.
But that thing was not available right away when Windows 10 arrived July 29th or whatever. That stuff didn't become broadly available until at least a month later. And so there's no reason to worry about that kind of stuff this time either.
Right.
Really?
No.
Right.
People don't line up anymore at computer stores to get copies. Right?
You mean we're not gonna have a launch party? I'm not gonna get a deck of cards and some balloons, and that was fun. Remember that?
Have a house party like you did on Windows 7.
Was that Windows 7? Yeah, it was Windows 7. We had a house. We were at the cottage. We had a Windows 7 launch party. I got the whole kit.
Sure.
I still have that special commemorative edition of Windows 7 on a DVD somewhere.
Nice.
Yep. Pretty cool.
I gave mine all away, but yeah, I got one too.
Yeah, it was fun. No, I did the whole process where you send away, and
that was the end of an era, though, right? We don't really do things that way anymore.
Well, and I was talking about this on the radio show, and I don't think I'm wrong saying this. Microsoft has said this is the last version of Windows. You're probably not going to see Windows 11 launching.
Right.
I mean, they could change course, but as things stand today, they want to get you to 10, and then you're just going to get infinite upgrades, right?
We'll have to see what it looks like. But if you were to somehow be able to install the original version of Windows 10 right now, or on August 3rd, let's say, the process of going from that to 1607 or whatever we're calling it, the anniversary update, is not that bad.
Will it be one download and update?
No, there'll be several downloads, but it won't be as 161 downloads, right? Because the updates are all cumulative. So
that's that
there'll be some small number. It won't be 1 or 2. There'll be 5, 7 somewhere around that number. But and it might require 2 reboots, for whatever reason, depending on what it is.
The insider build I just did had 2 reboots.
Yeah. So. But it's a much simpler process. I just think if this tweet is suggesting what I think it's suggesting, that could become even easier. That thing would just be essentially a cumulative update. It wouldn't be a gigantic OS upgrade. I really think they need to get there.
Deltas forever. It's deltas all the way down.
Yeah.
Good. So I understand there's a new tier just for you, Paul, the Insider MVP. What is that?
I don't know.
I don't think this is what everybody may think it is.
I do not think this is what you think it is.
So last year, Microsoft said they were going to kind of rejigger the MVP program a bit, and they were going to take the consumer-focused MVPs out of the traditional MVP program and kind of do something else with them. So it turns out the something else is get the product teams to kind of take them under their wing. So MVPs who are Windows consumer MVPs are in this new program called Windows Insider MVPs. Are they going to be a different ring from everyone else? No, as far as I know. Are they going to get something beyond what other insiders get? I'm not so sure. What Donna said about it when she wrote this post was, you're going to have direct interaction with the team. That's kind of what MVPs get when they have their summit. So I'm not sure it's something actually very different from the existing MVP program. I don't think it's going to kind of give them any extra influence beyond what they already had. I think it's kind of an in-name thing only.
Did you say in-name?
In-name.
I did not say in-name.
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 Oh, in-name.
I am not saying inane. I'm not saying MVPs are inane.
I don't think the
I don't want
MVP
hate
program
mail.
makes any sense at all for consumer products. And I think calling these guys what they are, which is enthusiasts, and putting them in the Windows Insider program in the case of Windows makes all the sense in the world.
That's all you should do, and leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the road there for that. And maybe there's more to come that we don't know about, but at least that makes sense to me.
Yeah, Xbox MVPs are now under Xbox. They're not in the general MVP program, right? Same kind of thing.
Well, I mean, someone who becomes an MVP in SharePoint and has shown their expertise in this product, they can help customers, upgrade and,
that makes a lot
get
of
things
sense.
Configured correct. There's a sense to it.
Yeah.
But we all help our parents upgrade their computers and, whatever we do out in the world. I mean, that's not really the same level of professional, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
So
I feel like
it's enthusiast.
I feel like you can make a case for Windows enterprise people being insiders.
That's not consumer, right? That's
true. That's a good point.
So how do you
that's a
get to
business
be one of
classification.
these? I mean, is there a test? Do you have to know what Donna's favorite color is? I mean, what is the?
No.
Oh, I see. Right.
You have to basically prove you are helping others with Microsoft technologies, like whether it's in forums or writing books, social channels.
And they'll just notice that and give you the title.
Or people will nominate you, and you'll
sometimes
be
you can get nominated.
made an MVP.
Okay. It's an honorary thing.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a nice little high school style click. It's a good idea.
Well, it's
Twitter isn't already terrible enough. Let's add some people who've been anointed by Microsoft
a little crown
into the mix.
But I mean, I understand for IT and developers that makes a lot of sense. And when you meet, at least in the past, when somebody says I'm a Microsoft MVP, I know that they have a certain skill level, more above and beyond just helping people out. They have a certain skill level, right?
Right.
But this wouldn't necessarily be the case here. I have to point out that Donna has made some interesting choices in her new office. Yep. So she's next to somebody named Brandon LeBlanc. Brandon.
Yeah, we know Brandon very well, and it's sad that she has to work next to Brandon. We'll have to do
his door. He chooses to set up his desk facing his door, facing out to the world. She
like
chooses,
Strider in the Lord of the Rings.
Like
you want to be able to see all the exits.
She chooses, right? Actually, that's maybe it. He doesn't want to have he wants his back to the wall.
Because people would be twicking his earlobe every time they walk by if he sat there.
She sits facing out the window and could easily be snuck up on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But she's more of a dreamer.
She's a dreamer.
Looking out into the outside world.
She also looks like she has a couch in there.
Yep.
And a odd ship in a bottle kind of
the ship in a bottle thing is odd.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the story on that one.
Well,
Probably has to do with shipping products, I'm guessing.
Oh, yes. That's an award, a special award.
Right.
This is a shipping MVP.
It's a shipping product, shipping award. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
Shipped. It's big. Takes up a lot of desk space. Yeah, but both of them have dual.
Is that Building 37? Is that where they still are?
I think so.
Brad looks like he's
That's
got
where
one
Brandon
of those,
was the last time I saw him
Brandon
there.
Looks like he's got one of those nice 34-inch Dell kind of curved monitors there. That's nice. What else can we see? It's always fun, isn't it, to parse the inside picture. Accessibility improvements to have we seen these yet, or they're coming in anniversary?
As we barrel roll through these topics, I see we're getting closer and closer to this dynamics thing.
Come on,
and it's
wait!
starting to freak me out a little bit.
No, I'm gonna win you over on that one. Hold on.
Mary Jo Foley headline: Why Windows Weekly listeners need to start caring about Microsoft Dynamics. Is that Microsoft's
I'm gonna make a
robot
case, you guys.
division?
Dynamics is
That's all I'm saying.
CRM and ERP. Guys, I'm gonna make a compelling case.
Lordy. Slow it down, Paul. Slow it down.
Yeah.
Talk
anyway, to answer Leo's original question.
Did we talk about accessibility? I thought we
no. So there are a bunch of things in the anniversary update that aren't getting a lot of press. Accessibility is one of them. The security stuff in there is one of them too, because a lot of the security stuff is just stuff that happens for free. You don't really have to configure anything. It just works in the background. So it's kind of hard to discuss. But with the accessibility stuff, there are some improvements across the core apps As you would expect, there is stuff for developers, but I think the big one is just major improvements to the narrator tool that's been in Windows for quite a long time. This isn't something I'm hugely familiar with, but based on feedback from actual users, they've made major changes to this thing, and so there's some documentation around that.
Good. No, that's always.
I did write an article about it.
Always welcome. Always important.
Yeah, of course.
I think, and Microsoft's done a great job, as they should, on all of this. New Skype meetings tool, and it's free for 3.
Because, once you have more than 3 users, it stops working. We don't want to freak anyone out.
No, it starts with more than that, right? Skype for meetings.
How do we explain this? I mean, I guess if you have Office 365, you go ahead.
All right, I'll take a shot at it. So some people are saying this is Microsoft's competitor to Google Hangouts, which I didn't really see it that way. I saw it more as Microsoft kind of dangling a carrot for people who don't already have Skype for Business. And the idea is, here's a free meetings tool. You can use this to set up meetings with up to 10 people in the first 60 days that you try this out. And then after that, it goes down to 3. It has not all the bells and whistles of Skype for Business meetings, but it has a lot of things like the built-in collaboration tools and the presence and all that. So I think it's meant to get people who kind of said, I don't really need this, Skype for Business kind of stuff, to try out some of the features in a free way. And then Microsoft hopes at some point you will say, okay, I like that and I want even more, and I want to now pay for Skype for Business.
So let me invent a tip for people based on what you just said, which is this. The stuff that's not included in this is included in Skype, the free product that Microsoft also makes. So you could just use Skype, and when you needed to have a meeting, you could use this free tool. I guess unless you needed more than 3 people. Because a lot of the stuff you're not getting in this free meeting tool is things like the ability to instant message somebody when they're not in a meeting, right? Because it's literally just the meeting part. It's not about, okay, you're online, I can contact you, we could chat with audio, we could start, we could start a meeting, we could do whatever. It's just the meetings.
That's kind of dopey.
It is a little strange, actually.
It is, but if you use Skype meetings and Skype for Business, you can have a meeting for up to 250 people, right? Like it's like a giant scale meeting, and I think they have more granular controls for the people who are in charge of the meeting beyond what you get with this free tool. So I just kind of took it as, here's a thing to get people who may have never tried Skype for Business to kind of just
start
say,
thinking of it that way.
Yeah, think about it. Think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
This should just be a plug-in for Skype, though, because you shouldn't lose capabilities. I mean...
Yeah. Do you? I don't.
Well, you do, because you have to launch
it's
Skype to start doing the messaging and that stuff.
Well, Skype is just the free consumer product, right? I mean, so it has a certain set of capabilities, but it does things that are pretty powerful, screen sharing, and there's different things you can do with that. It's free, right?
Laser pointers.
And you can have group meetings in Skype. What's the number of people you can have in Skype?
Skype consumer, you can only how many can you have now in the free?
Well, so by the way, I don't think they're meetings. You can have group video chats. It's not really the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's right.
Okay.
Yep.
The part of the whole meeting thing is that there might be documents associated with it. You get into a meeting and everyone has access to those things. You can, in Office 365, at least with Skype for Business, you can, co-edit the documents live while you're talking about them. And there's all these different capabilities. This is kind of just the meeting part pulled out and brought over to the side.
Right.
And for a limited audience, like you said.
Yeah.
Doing it for the Mac, too.
Yeah. Skype for Business for Mac. I think Paul had the same thing. Before Microsoft put this into preview, every week I was getting questions from people like, when are they going to get us off Link and put us on Skype for Business for Mac? So a couple months ago, they introduced phase 1 of this Skype for Business for Mac preview, and they got 22,000 people to sign up, they said yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's it.
By the way,
They're not taking any...
and 7,000 organizations, if I'm not mistaken.
I know. It's big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a really big preview.
Who are all these people using Macs?
And who want Skype for Business on them, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Right. So phase 1, they introduced the meetings component. Phase 2, which started yesterday in this preview, you got presence, contacts, and instant messaging. There's one more phase left of the preview, which adds all the telephony pieces of Skype for Business for Mac. And then they're going to RTM it. So I think the RTM is still on for Q3, though they're saying fall. So that gives them a little bit of wriggle room on that. But yeah, I think it's really popular. And when I tweeted about this yesterday, there were tons of retweets. So I think a lot of people are interested or using this preview.
That is interesting.
Boy. Do they have Notepad on the Mac?
Right. See, if they did, like, wow, I don't know.
If they did.
Chromebook with Notepad.
Sure.
Well, the Skype is getting better on the web Skype, right? I mean, that's for Chromebook users. I wish it did video. I just wish
didn't have a chance
video.
to test this yet, but Skype web is improving to the point where now you can make audio calls. Meaning, if you have a Chromebook, you can use Skype to call people.
Not for nothing. But
Leo, I can't wait until I can do this podcast on a Chromebook. It's going to be the best day of my life.
So exciting. Well, Jeff Darvis does, and I can't wait until he finally has a way to do it.
Yeah.
How does he do it without?
Well, he was a very big pain in the butt because he ended up having to put Crouton Linux on his Chromebook and running Skype for Linux, which is an ancient version of. They don't keep it up for Linux at all.
Yep.
And that didn't work well. So we finally just said, I think he got a Mac. I think he went out and got a dedicated Mac.
Just for the show.
But when he travels, he doesn't want to have to do that. I think he was using his Pixel C Android tablet for a while. It's always an adventure. We never know exactly how that's going to work. And
what's he using today?
The problem really is if Microsoft doesn't get off the dime and make Skype more, equivalent to other services, they're just going to basically lose the whole game. Because people are trying other stuff.
It does seem like they're getting it there. They'll probably get video on the web just in time for no one to ever want to use it. But it seems like it's going to happen, right? I mean, they're heading in this direction.
Yeah. Well, slowly.
Why couldn't you do it? Why couldn't it work through a Chrome web browser?
Well, they'd have to use RTC.
No, they are working on that, aren't they?
They'd have to. See, I think that the problem is that they use a proprietary codec.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've said they're going to do WebRTC, right?
If they do it with WebRTC, it's actually easy. I mean, there's plenty of people, even amateurs, just, home hobbyists who've written WebRTC clients for the browser. It's an easy thing to do, apparently. So I don't know why. I think it's all about business. I really think, Mike, that this whole thing is really more about infighting among the divisions and business issues and preserving the autonomy of Skype, right? They don't want to make it a Microsoft company, right? Isn't that part of it?
So they say, but it is one.
Well, it is one. So get off, make it better.
I know.
Make it better.
It really bothers me the way Skype is handled. I don't know. We'll see.
Either sell it and let them do it right, or absorb it and you do it right. But this half is not working.
Yeah. I mean, they are absorbing Skype technology into their products, right? We see it across Office 365. We see it across the consumer services, even on the web, like OneDrive and Outlook.com. We'll see.
Skype sharing gone, right?
Sorry, I didn't. My headline that sentence in there was done poorly.
Skype sharing goes offline.
Now works. Right.
That's good. Okay. Not bad. Skype sharing.
This is good news, not bad news.
Can now be done offline.
That's right. Meaning that if Mary Jo was offline and I wanted to share a file with her, I could still send it to her over Skype. When she got online, she would have the option.
Now I get it. You didn't do that before?
By the way, that's exactly what I wrote. When I wrote this story, I said I could have sworn they'd already worked this way.
That's strange.
Yeah,
I thought
it did. Did it? Like if you sent me a picture before and I wasn't online, did I get it?
I guess not.
I thought you did. I mean, part of this is also syncing across devices, which is hilarious when you think about it, that this thing would pop up on all of your devices, which of course it already does. I don't know. They were promoting this today.
And finally, let's talk about Xbox, because we're very excited about all the Xbox news.
Let's move right to the end.
Guys.
All right, Mary Jo, why should we care about Microsoft Dynamics.
Okay. So I know podcast is called Windows Weekly, but we've all agreed lately that it's really Microsoft.
It is. It's Microsoft. Absolutely.
If you want to look right now where Microsoft is focusing really heavily, I'd say for the rest of this year and going into next year, it's around their business apps and what they call business processes. And it's very interesting. Where did Satya Nadella get his real start at Microsoft?
Right.
He got it in the Dynamics part of the business. So Dynamics is CRM and ERP applications. It's Microsoft's business software, right? So today, Microsoft made a really interesting announcement that just was kind of under the radar, and I didn't see any leaks about this going in, but they announced what's called Dynamics 365. So we have Office 365. This is Dynamics 365. Very similar in concept. It's turning Microsoft CRM and ERP into a unified suite of cloud services, very much like what they did with SharePoint, Lync, and Exchange when they made Office 365. This is a whole new direction for them. Before, Microsoft was kind of just letting its CRM and its ERP business kind of trot along, I felt like. Then they supposedly tried to buy Salesforce. Once that was over and those negotiations were over, it feels like Microsoft has said, you know what? We need to really start playing in this market. We're not going to buy Salesforce. We need to compete head-to-head with them and other companies. So let's get serious. Let's start doing some stuff in the cloud with our CRM and ERP products. Let's combine things into a suite because we've had a lot of success in selling things as suites. So I'd say if you want to look at what is really going to matter for Microsoft the rest of this year, you should be really paying attention to Dynamics, even if you don't use these products. Another reason I think it's really important is when Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26 billion, one of the big reasons they bought them was to beef up the Dynamics business. That was like a very, very key reason. So again, everything is kind of coming back to Dynamics. And I know you guys love your Xbox. I know you love your Surface. I know you love your Windows phones, you 1%ers out there. But Dynamics, people, is where it's at. That's my rant.
In the chat room, Web1731 says Dynamics CRM is a third the price of Salesforce, and it's a great product. So
is this someone who works for Microsoft?
So there. Unidentified visitor coming out of Redmond, Washington. No, I don't know. I think actually people really really like it.
Yeah.
I don't think Paul and I dislike Dynamics.
No, I know.
I think
it's
we don't know anything about it. We don't actually have any customers or relationships to manage.
Yep.
So there's no value to us.
You may in the future, because I think Paul's next field guide should actually be Dynamics.
I'll tell you what, Mary Jo, if you co-write it with me,
no,
well, I will consider that.
I'm telling you, I think it would sell. I really do.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think your data point that Microsoft actually had to overpay for LinkedIn just to keep it out of the hands of Salesforce is very telling, right?
That was so this broke right over the holiday weekend, but LinkedIn posted this SEC filing. And if you haven't read this, you should go read this thing.
It's a soap opera.
It is a total soap opera. And it's one of the most detailed SEC filings on an acquisition I think I've ever seen. It talks about how it wasn't just Microsoft versus Salesforce, but there were a whole bunch of other people supposedly bidding for LinkedIn too. Mm-hmm. They call them like Party A, Party B. People leave kind of their Facebook and Google.
Yeah. It's really interesting. The point is that in this SEC filing, they have to justify to the shareholders that they did the best they could for the shareholder value. And boy, if I were a shareholder, I'd be very happy because they added like another $60 per share to the sale price. They did a very good job, and it's all cash.
I know. And the very interesting point in that SEC filing was I think it was called Party A, who everyone thinks is Salesforce, actually bid more for LinkedIn than Microsoft did, but they decided to take the all cash offer.
Right.
So yeah, if you haven't read this and you kind of are watching Microsoft, you should check this out.
It's the same decision everyone who wins the lottery makes. You know, do I get it all now in a lump sum, or do I
Oh,
take
but
it
they,
over time.
you cannot. I don't think any shareholder could fault how
No.
Reed and the team did squeezing, squeezing party A, B, and C to get the best shareholder value. I mean, they got well over the stock price for it eventually.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
And another little tidbit from that filing was Bill Gates talked to Reid Hoffman about taking a board seat at Microsoft.
Yeah.
It wasn't decided, but it was part of the conversation. So maybe Reid will be a new board member at Microsoft.
You know, he's considered to be brilliant by many.
I know. People say that.
He'd be a great asset.
He's pretty brilliant. He just got $24.2 billion or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Smarter than I am.
Actually, I think
for sure.
I think he would be an asset on the Microsoft board. I mean,
Yeah, I do too. I think he'd bring a new perspective that they don't have on their board.
I'd be
right now.
I'll frankly be shocked if they don't give him a board seat.
Me too.
Yeah, that's not in the written part of the deal, but that's got to be understood.
Right.
So, pay
Dynamics,
attention to this
people.
business. This is
know.
Microsoft's in this business to win. They're in it to win it.
They really are.
Where goes Dynamics, there goes Microsoft.
Whither thy thither.
You can quote me on that, Paul Thurrott.
I literally just did.
Thank you.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay.
So it's CRM and what else? What I mean,
ERP, which is like
ERP,
the financial
which is-
software,
okay.
manufacturing software, all the things to run your business. In short.
Yeah, and it's going to be integrated into Office 365. So really, it's a kind of a total package for enterprise.
So you're going to with Dynamics 365, you're going to have everything from like financials to field service to sales, operations, marketing, all of these things rolled into a suite, and then you're going to be able to connect to all your Office applications through Office 365.
Right. And is their offering complete? I mean, is there anything missing? Do they need any pieces they need to that puzzle, or do they have a pretty complete offering?
Well, they didn't talk about HR as part of this, which is something Salesforce does talk about, but I think that's something that LinkedIn is going to bring to this.
Really? HR?
I mean, more like human capital management, recruiting, talent management, blah, all that stuff.
I only know about this because of the LinkedIn thing, but the way it was described to me at the time was that Dynamics has some basic capabilities around that. And that LinkedIn.
I'd be interested to see, I bet, more acquisitions. I hear you get Zenefits real cheap right now.
Oh, man. Ooh, who would want that headache? Yikes.
But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think a company that buys this kind of stuff, and again, I'm kind of more guessing than wants to buy all from a turnkey from a single vendor, right? You don't want to piecemeal.
That's what Microsoft's betting.
Right.
Yep.
You don't want to piecemeal this all together.
Sure.
Salesforce has a pretty complete offering. I mean, if that's who they're targeting, there are some pieces missing. They need to.
Yeah. Well, although Microsoft has the ERP stuff that I don't think Salesforce has, unless I'm not as up to speed about Salesforce.
Right.
But
somebody in the chat room saying Dynamics does have an HR module.
They
I
do.
thought they did. Yeah.
I don't know how complete it is.
I just thought they had said some things about LinkedIn kind of bringing an extra dimension to what they could do with human capital management.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Areas
Yeah,
called.
I think the way I sort of described it back to Microsoft, and they sort of vaguely agreed, was that LinkedIn is sort of the public cloud version of that, whereas the dynamic stuff is the private cloud version.
And SharePoint has intranet capabilities, right? And
Yep.
They've got Yammer.
Intranet, yep.
They have all. Yeah, with LinkedIn, they have Facebook at work. Basically, they have the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. So if you think about all the things that Microsoft's been talking about, like business intelligence and the flow automation stuff, Power Apps for building business apps, even if you're not a true developer, all that stuff is part of this package and is going to be part of the whole Dynamics 365 equation. We're going to hear a lot more about this. We are going to hear a lot more
I think we need to do a Microsoft Dynamics pick of the day.
Yikes.
In fact, we have a code name of the week that has to do with this week.
Great minds. Okay.
See?
Meanwhile,
back at the Xbox Ranch.
back in the living room, on the couch, sprung out old couch, Paul Thurrott says X Play Anywhere is not Well, I saw this story too, that, whoa, there's no more exclusive Xbox exclusives.
I
didn't get that. It didn't make sense to me.
We've talked about this kind of thing before, where we live and work and breathe in this kind of fast-moving, dynamic industry, and yet so many people are so set in their ways. Like, it really kind of blows my mind. I mean, I'm not a spring chicken myself, but I'm continually reevaluating technologies, looking at things, trying to do things different ways. I don't use Microsoft Word to write anymore. That's amazing. I used that product for 20 years straight. When things can work. What's that?
Notepad.
Notepad, yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's a little more sophisticated than Notepad, but it's in the same. It's closer to Notepad than it is to Microsoft Word. That's for sure. But I look at what Microsoft's doing with the Xbox this year, and I just agree with all of it. Not because I am guaranteeing that it's all going to be successful, but that I think them changing the way video games are done makes sense, given the way the world is changing around them. It's not just because, the PlayStation is probably outselling them 2-1 right now. Okay. But, it's about expanding the Xbox brand to mean more than it has, right? That it's not just about a console. It's a platform. It's a brand. It has a much bigger ecosystem around it than just a console. It's a bigger deal than that. And so this Xbox Play Anywhere scheme, which is where Microsoft's own games, the Microsoft Studio games, and games by third parties that want to do this can play on both the Xbox One and Windows 10. When you buy one of those games, you get it on both. But it's not just getting it on both, which is kind of a neat thing anyway. It's the ability to pass all of your game progress, your saved games, and your achievements between the two. So I could be sitting here playing a game on a console, Xbox One console, time to go, to work maybe in the morning. I could play it on the tablet, on the bus or the train or something. I could play it on my break at work. I could come home, pick it up on the big screen again. And it's the same game. I've been playing the same game the whole time. Not just the same game, but literally the same game session, with the same progress and achievements and all that stuff. I think it's a big deal, but I don't want to, I'm not trying to criticize the person that wrote this. This is a very common thought out in the world, that because they're doing this Xbox Play Anywhere, well, the notion of Xbox exclusives is gone.
But it's still a Microsoft game. I mean, it's still exclusive to Microsoft. It's not.
I think they're missing. It's a very pedantic view of the world to say that there are no more exclusives. There's still Xbox exclusives. They will work on Xbox One consoles, and they'll work on Windows 10 PCs.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
It's still an exclusive. It's not. We're not changing the definition of the term.
Yeah.
And the important thing here for Microsoft, for developers who target Xbox, and by the way, also for customers, which I think this is a win-win-win, is that this expands the potential audience for this dramatically. If you accept the fact that there are potentially 20 million Xbox One users in the world, there are potentially 40 million PlayStation 4 users in the world, well, there are 350 million Windows 10 users in the world. It's a much bigger audience. Not every single one of them is going to play games, obviously. But if you could double, triple, quadruple, whatever, that available market benefits everybody. And just as a user, as someone who plays games myself, the ability to go back and forth between a console, which I maybe prefer to play, especially when at home and I have a big screen here like I do. But if I could go on a trip and bring an Xbox controller and play it on a Surface Pro tablet as well, that's huge. There's no downside to this. I mean, I just don't understand the crazy negativity around this kind of stuff. It's just a win. So anyway, I guess my point is, I disagree with this contention that Xbox Play Anywhere is the end of Xbox exclusives. It's absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
To me, an exclusive just means it's not on PlayStation. It doesn't mean it's not on PC.
But for whatever it's worth, I actually think the notion of exclusives is one of the things that's terrible about the PC or about the video game industry, and I understand why it exists.
Well, the point is to sell a console.
Absolutely, absolutely. But this notion of cross-platform play, I think, is huge.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with. Look, well, I guess what is it? The theory that the reason I'm a PC gamer is so I don't have to deal with the Xbox. Well, the reason I'm an Xbox player is I don't have to deal with a PC. But this doesn't negate that. You still can choose a platform. But there are plenty of people like Paul, and I include myself in this, who like the idea of being able to play the same game on both. I guess the issue is...
we talk about Minecraft a lot, right?
Yeah.
How amazing will it be when the day comes, and it will come, where you can play in the same game session on your PC, on your Xbox,
that would
on
be
your
very
phone,
nice.
on your tablet, out on your TV, wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
That's just a win.
Yeah. All right. We will get to the back of the book moments from now. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Leanpub.com for Paul's field guides. They're great. Thurrott.com for his website. Allaboutmicrosoft.com for Mary Jo Foley's website. And when the mailman, what was it? The postman always rings twice.
Yep. Sounds like a horror movie in a way.
It kind of was a scary movie. But in fact, it's not true. How many times has the UPS guy come, rung, and gone before you can get to the door? I can think of a lot of reasons why I love the Ring video doorbell. And a lot of them is because whenever the FedEx guy comes to my door, I can answer that call, even if I'm at work, because my Ring video doorbell is connected to the internet. It has a video camera, and it has a speaker, and it has a microphone in it. And I could say, yeah, just, hey, the UPS guys, that was so annoying, have stopped leaving packages of any kind. They say, well, there's too many thefts in this neighborhood off the porch, so you have to either have a secure place to leave it, or we're going to go. You have to go to the UPS store to get it. And I was so mad, but now I can tell the guy, oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm going to be right out there. You can leave it, no problem. Or, you know, if he still hesitates, put it in the bush. I'm going to get it in 3 minutes. I'm in the bathtub. Do you mind? It works. The Ring video doorbell is the single best IoT device I've ever used. I'm a fan, huge fan. And now they've really made this fun because they've created a security bundle, and we're going to give you $50 off. Both kits include that great Ring video doorbell. The bundle kit has the classic Ring video doorbell that's suitable for either wired or unwired installations because it has a big battery. It's a 720p HD camera. The new Pro bundle, just a little bit more. It's slimmer because it doesn't have a battery. But for a lot of people, including myself, if you're doing a wired doorbell, you don't need all that bulk. And it's a 1080p camera. I have to upgrade my Ring. I've been meaning to do this. The bundle includes not just that, but the stick-up cam, which is a camera with 1080p video, night vision. It can watch other parts of your property and see and hear and speak to visitors with two-way talk. So you can say, get out of there. Hey, kid, get out of there. And they have optional cloud video recording, very affordable. You can capture and share video with family, friends, or law enforcement. You get that. You get the solar panel, which powers it, so you can literally put it anywhere now, which is awesome. It's got to be within the range of the Wi-Fi of your house, but you know, under the eaves of your house, that's going to work perfect. Out on the deck, watching the backyard. And then I love the chime. They're going to include a chime in this as well. That plugs into any plug in your house, also connected to Wi-Fi, adds another ding-donger in your house, which frankly is nice because the ding-donger in our house, you could go dong-gong. This is nice to have kind of somewhere else in the house so you never miss a visit. So $50 off the bundle kit at ring.com/WW. These are easy to install. They couldn't be simpler. And with both the Ring video doorbell and the stick-up cam, you're going to get 24/7 monitoring of the entire area, whether you're at home or 1,000 miles away. And we're going to get you $50 off the Ring of Security bundle. Get it today. Ring.com. I think these guys have really got it. They really do. And I love the idea that not only can I talk to somebody at my front door, but how many security cameras let you talk to somebody in your backyard? This has two-way talk. So you can say, can I help you? And I'll tell you, it's fun. They run. Ring.com. If they don't, you got video. Ring.com/WW. That's the lowest price anywhere. Take advantage of it with the $50 discount just for you Windows Weekly listeners. Ring.com/WW. And thank Ring so much for their support and for creating a great product that we just love. Now I'm still converting my Evernote. I have 800. I know. I have 868 notes.
Listen, DOS batch files don't run quickly, Leo. You got to give it.
But it did just finish now. So all done. Your notes just now, literally. So I started at the beginning of the show, so it's like an hour.
You have a lot of notes.
860. Yeah, I've been using Evernote for years.
This is going to go great.
Now, it does say we couldn't import all or part of the following notes because they contain ink, reminder, or encrypted contents. Unfortunately, I was wondering how they were going to handle this. When I put passwords in or serial numbers, I encrypt them.
Oh.
So a number of my... But you know what? Those should all be moved over to LastPass anyway, right? Credit card numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
So they did give me a list of them. So let me copy that and make sure I convert all those to LastPass.
Can you show the screen? Is that, or do you not want people to see that?
No, there's nothing.
I'm just curious to see what it looks like.
So you never got it to complete?
I just didn't have enough notes for it to be meaningful.
Oh, it was meaningful. Boy, was it meaningful. It went through a lot. So these are the encrypted notes. Okay. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I encrypted my bran muffin recipe. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Actually,
well, listen. Coke, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah. American, but there's some passwords, credit card numbers, stuff like that. But that's fine. That shouldn't probably be in OneNote anyway. I want to put those in my LastPass. And then so this all converted, and now I can open this up in OneNote. Let's click this button.
Oh, and here it comes.
Here it comes.
Select the right one.
Oh crap! How many OneNotes do I have? Which one's the?
You want to always shoot for the middle one.
The middle one, OneNote 2016. That's the one that comes with Office. Okay. Potential security concerns. This location may be unsafe. Hyperlinks. It's kind of giving me a warning that I clicked my OneNote link. Okay, thank you.
It's probably one of Mary Jo's stories.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Do you want to continue? Yes.
Sure.
Okay, and then now this is your notebook.
Yeah. So go up to there.
Where would it be?
We'll wait till it gets out of that little.
Yeah, I'm still in Hourglass, so it's going to take a while processing this. Oh, loading.
Yeah, so if it doesn't pop up automatically, which it might, you want to go to the notebooks up there in the upper left, which is under that window right now.
Right.
Let's see what I wonder what they're going to...
It says it's syncing, which is good.
Yeah.
Let me just look on my Mac to see. Well, it hasn't sunk yet, but once it's sunk...
So it's going to sync.
Oh, it'll sync. Where are my other notes, it says.
Oh, look at you.
Welcome. Your notes are successfully imported from Evernote. That's neat. Some tips so that, kind of getting you into the OneNote ecosystem. That's great.
You're in the empire now, baby.
Yep. Forever and ever. Amen. So pages 1 of 100. Pages,
There you go.
That's cool.
All your notes.
Look at that.
Yep.
It did do it, I think. Well, I'll give you a report back on how.
Yeah, I think I would go to the top, look at the notebooks. It's probably its own thing.
Yeah. Coolio.
So before we get to the back of the book, Mary Jo, did you previously talk about this Raymond Chen thing where he answers questions? Have we talked about this?
I don't know if we ever talked about it on Windows Weekly. I watch them all the time. They're hilarious.
They're awesome. So I just noticed, I just retweeted one, and I remember this one from a couple of months ago. But the question was, is there still code from Windows 95 in Windows 10? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
If you're running the 32-bit version of Windows 10 and you select a DOS file of any kind, you'll actually find in the properties sheet that comes up the configuration file for that application that Microsoft created for Windows 95.
Well, you know how we know this? Because whenever Microsoft issues a security patch for all versions of Windows,
right?
The most recent one was kernel 32. It was the 32-bit subsystem.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, still in Windows 10. You probably very rarely, if ever, use it, but it's still there. And there was a flaw in kernel 32. And
wow,
incredible.
Yep. So we know.
One time we did talk about Raymond Chen because we talked about him going to the Microsoft library one time and we showed the video. Right?
Okay. I knew he had come up. Raymond Chen's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
And he has got videos up on Channel 9, I think.
Nice.
Where he answers dev questions.
That's a great question, though. I like that.
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
cool.
I love that one. Yeah, and I love the proof.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Now that was back of the bookie.
Yeah,
that's appropriate, but it's
that
time
counts.
for our tip of the week, and I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, there's some more Xbox stuff, Mary Jo. I'm sorry.
Woohoo!
We'll just fade her out. And she can go make some beer or do something, and we'll be back.
So Microsoft is having a massive sale on Xbox. It's Xbox One and Xbox 360. There's some Windows 10 stuff too, but mostly Xbox. Some of these games are up to 70% off. One of the really good ones, by the way, is Call of Duty Ghosts, which is actually a great game. Prices vary, obviously, according to game. If you have an Xbox Live Gold subscription, which I assume most of you do, you get some further percentage off, maybe 10% extra or whatever it is. So I wrote an article about some of the highlights of that, but Major Nelson has the complete list. And, this is the time to buy, no doubt about it. So definitely check this out. I think it lasts through the 11th or so just under a week now left. And also, because it is the beginning of the month, I just wanted to remind people about Games with Gold, like I do every month. Games with Gold is that promotion that Microsoft has for people, again, with an Xbox Live Gold subscription, where you get 2 free Xbox One games and 2 free Xbox 360 games every month. If you are an Xbox One owner, the 360 games will play on your console as well. So I didn't actually recognize the Xbox One games, but among the Xbox 360 titles is one that I played a long time ago on disc and loved, which is Rainbow Six Vegas 2. This is kind of back in the day, like the Rainbow Six Vegas, the two of them, the 2 Rainbow Six Vegas games were both excellent, and they were games I used to play with my son back when he wanted to hang around with me. And they had co-op kind of things you could do as like team play and so forth. Kind of a cool game. So I actually just loaded that one up on my Xbox One, and I'll see if I can play through that again. And then as far as app picks, the App Raisin mobile app pick of the week is Groove Music, the Microsoft app. This is an application that was basically ignored on Windows for quite a while, or it was kind of lackluster as we made the transition from Windows Phone 8 to Windows 10, and then on the desktop, obviously Windows 10 as well. But recently, it's really been kind of heating up. And if you're on the Windows Insider program on PC and mobile, you probably, if you use the app, you've noticed there's a bunch of new features in it. And one of the best ones is something called Your Groove, which is a music discovery feature, something that Groove hasn't had, well, actually since it was called Zune. And it's a major update. It addresses one of my 2 major concerns about the service, because if you look at things like Apple Music or Spotify, especially, those services do a great job of showing you new music or showing you music from your own collection that you just haven't listened to in a long time. And now Groove has this as well, and it actually works pretty well. The only thing it doesn't have is a decent client on iOS or Android. So if you have Windows 10 Mobile, which almost no one does, or if you have Windows 10, which a lot of people do, the Groove client is fantastic, especially in the anniversary update. But if you have iOS or Android, the Groove client is really basic. In fact, it hasn't been updated since last September. So hopefully Microsoft will fix that soon. But the version on Windows is great, and you should definitely check that out. And then just a quick note, the Microsoft Arrow launcher, which I've talked about in the past, was just updated to version 2.0. This is the launcher replacement for Android. So it's what people think of, I guess, as the home screen. And it's really innovative. It's not necessarily for everybody. If you're one of those people that likes to put, app icons exactly on screen where you want them, this may not be for you. But what this does instead is it provides you really quick access, not just to apps, but the people you've talked to the most or most recently, the upcoming reminders and other events and so forth. But with apps specifically, what it does is it orders them based on usage. So the apps you've accessed the most recently and the most are at the top of that screen. And so again, like I said, it's not for everybody, but it has Bing wallpaper, dynamic wallpaper changing, and a bunch of other cool features. I'm trying to see what was the big deal with this release. I think it was Office 365. Yeah. So now it's it integrates with not just the consumer versions of Office 365, but also the commercial versions of Office 365. So you can get your contact information for phone calls, for text messages, and just for the contact stuff out of Office 365 commercial as well. So it's free. Something worth checking out.
So I'm just going through my notebooks here.
Yep. I knew this was coming.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. One of the things I like about Evernote is I can quickly search for anything. I mean, there's hundreds, as you know, of notes, and I can pop it up. It looks, I mean, everything has been imported to OneDrive, But then it looks like I have to explicitly load that folder from OneDrive into OneNote. Doesn't look like I can kind of search it globally.
And it should be able to, actually.
Really? Okay. I'll have to play with it. The other thing, of course, is it's...
Can you show me how it's organized? I'm just like clicking
I will as soon as it's done loading this long
Yeah, this is the part I'm curious about, because if you have a lot of notes. So
I have a lot
which
of
of these is the imported thing?
Well, this is one of these imported, but the image is not, as you can see, imported, which is kind of a missing piece. And then in order to add a notebook, I have to add open from, and so these are all
so they actually created different notebooks for all of them.
Now that was an option I could have not done. I might redo this and just make
I
it
would
one
redo it as
giant
one
notebook, because
so
the issue I am
here
losing some organization that I have in Evernote, because I have these for instance, you know, these trips are imported, are created automatically by my automatic, right? And I use an if this then that script. It's been loading this for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think the difference here is if you had one notebook.
Yeah, I might redo
those things that
way.
are now discrete notebooks would be sections.
Yeah.
And so what you would see is a row of tabs across the top inside that one notebook.
Okay.
Each of which would equate to the one, or to each of those notebooks you're seeing now.
That would be fine, and then I could search it all globally.
I would recommend redoing it as one notebook.
Yeah. Now how do I get rid of all this? I don't know what to do.
You should go to OneDrive.com and delete them
on OneDrive. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Yeah. Well, that was a good experiment, and this is useful for people who
I
are
just don't have enough
considering
notes. I've been wondering about how this would work.
I have a ton of notes. Obviously, I've been
I
using
don't
Evernote
have
since 2006, I think. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try it as one notebook.
I will. Meanwhile, back to my Windows Weekly notebook, and let's get our Enterprise Pick of the Week with Mary Jo Foley.
Yes. The Enterprise Pick of the Week has to do with Windows 10. And we talked about this back in February, I think, when this first leaked. But there was information from a Microsoft partner that said Microsoft was planning to bundle AppV, which is one of its tools, enterprise virtualization tools that it sells, with Windows 10 Anniversary Update. And lo and behold, yes, that was correct. Yesterday, Microsoft did a blog post. They said, we are going to be bundling AppV and another virtualization tool called UEV, which is User Environment Virtualization, with Windows 10. So there's two things to know. It only is going to be these two things are only going to be bundled with Windows 10 Anniversary Update if you're running Enterprise or Education. And if you're not running those versions, you're not going to get those tools bundled. So this presents kind of an interesting conundrum for pro users, because there are some Windows 10 Pro users who are not Enterprise users or Education users. And they're going to have to upgrade to one of those two SKUs in order to get these tools pre-bundled with Windows 10 Anniversary. These tools are interesting because a lot of people say these are kind of like the parts of MDOP, which MDOP is Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack, which really matter. These are kind of like the big tools in the MDOP pack. So if you're a pro user and you use MDOP and you want the next version or the enhanced version of these two tools, you're going to have to move up to Enterprise. Microsoft says there aren't that many users who that will apply to, but I guess we'll see. So at least we do know that AppV and UEV are going to be bundled with Windows 10 Anniversary, at least two of the SKUs. Paul, do you have anything to add on that one? I know you wrote this one too.
Yeah, so the only thing I was thinking as you were talking was that one of the big things to understand is that MDOP is a perk of software assurance.
Software assurance.
And people on companies on software assurance get Windows Enterprise as part of the deal. So for people who are on SA, this doesn't really change much. It's just they need to know that the updates coming to these things will be coming from Windows, not from MDOP in the future. We'll see what I guess with MDOP, they'll just drop that stuff.
And what's going to happen to MDOP, I wonder, going forward?
Well, if you look at the tools that are in MDOP, there's still stuff that's really valuable, like the Dart tool, which is the diagnostic thing, is amazing. MedV, which is desktop virtualization, also amazing. You know, the ability, what you have is like a virtual machine running in the background, but you can access the apps from your own start menu. So they're kind of integrated. It's kind of a neat way to do it. So it's not, AppV is about delivering like streaming apps from a data center. MedV is about doing it locally, just on a local virtual machine. So it's interesting to me that MedV is not part of this. But I think MDOP continues. I mean, it's just going to have less stuff in it.
I mean, MDOP definitely continues if you're Windows 7 or Windows 8.
Oh, that was the big thing. Right. Yep. So they're not updating AppV or UEV in MDOP going forward. So if you are in Windows 7 or Windows 8.1 Enterprise, I actually don't know. That's I think you're done, right? It's not going to be updated.
Yep. Right. You can still use it, but you'll never get the updates that they make to AppV or UEV going forward.
Right. I think so. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah.
So this is an interesting way to use SA, I guess, to promote Windows 10.
So you still need to have SA to get this, but you will if you're using Windows 10 Enterprise, right? Does every Windows 10 Enterprise user have SA?
You already have it, right? It's a perk.
Right, you do.
And you have both. So this doesn't change much other than where it comes from.
Right.
But I guess if you were to have Windows 7, any version of Windows, well, let's say Windows 10 Enterprise outside of SA, I guess this is an addition. I don't know who those people are. I mean, where do you get SA?
Yeah.
Where do you even get Enterprise from? But I suppose in those cases, it's a new... two new features of Windows 7. I don't want to keep calling Windows 7 Windows 10.
I know. The post is a little bit vague on details. And it's just like they kind of threw this out there yesterday, like, hey, by the way, here it is. And we don't have a lot of additional info at this point on it.
Right.
And then I have a bonus pick.
Ooh.
So
is it Dynamics?
It is not Dynamics. But I've had several Windows Weekly users, listeners ask me lately about this problem that Microsoft introduced with a June security patch they did that basically broke group policy. And they've asked me to talk about it on the show a few times, and I kept saying, well, I don't know what to tell you. I just know it's broken, and I don't know what else to tell you. Well, we now know a little more. Microsoft yesterday on its Ask Premier Field Engineering blog posted a pretty lengthy explanation of what broke, why it broke, and some of the options you have to fix group policy if you were one of those people who were affected by the June security patch. So in short, Microsoft basically is blaming users for this breaking and is not saying it was Microsoft's fault. They're saying that what they were trying to do with that security patch was to take away a potential vector for a man-in-the-middle attack. So they made some changes in how group policy works. And unfortunately, they don't seem to have told people that they made those changes, so people didn't know they were happening. And then when the security patch was applied, it broke GPO for a bunch of people. So I would say if you're one of those people who are affected by this, you should go to the Ask PFE blog on Microsoft's network and look at this very detailed post. It has lots of screenshots. It goes into what broke and all the different possible avenues you have to try to fix this. In short, they say what happened was, I'm not even going to try to explain it. I know. I'm like, yeah, it does. It's kind of like,
it was you.
Your fault, right?
Yep.
It's your fault, people. And what you have to do is change how you handle some of the read access to user policies that you have in group policy. It's worth a read. Go check it out. It's long. Detailed.
I didn't even get through it.
Yeah, it's long.
Yep.
Code name of the week.
Code name of the week does have to do with Dynamics, as I mentioned. So way back, like in 2006, Microsoft was working on something that was codenamed Project Green. I don't know if Paul remembers this back in the day, but Project Green was an attempt by Microsoft to take the 4 different ERP products that it had and turn them into one. And the way they were trying to do this was to take the common elements of these different ERP products that they had and kind of use that as a common denominator and then create this one mega ERP product that was supposed to be Project Green. It never happened. They never could pull it off. Project Green disintegrated, even though Microsoft officials at the time said, we actually did win. It did work. And we did make it happen, but we're just not issuing it as a separate product. Instead, it was almost like what they're doing with One Core in Windows. It's like we took all these common pieces and we're using it under the covers in our different ERP products, but we didn't actually create one product. Well, I made it the codename pick of the week this week because in a way, I think what they're doing with this new Dynamics 365 is kind of what they wanted to do with Project Green. It's bringing together all the different elements of their different ERP suites and products and CRM products and combining them into one thing. So if you remember back to 2006, that was what Project Green was.
All right. All righty, all rooty. I guess it'd be a good time to have a beer right about now. Yeah.
I think it would.
Yeah.
So I don't often pick as beer pick of the week, almost impossible to get beers, but this week I am. My beer pick is a beer from New York. It's called Debbie Downer.
I like the name. I like that name.
So here's why I made it the beer pick. I made it so I could talk about two interesting things about this beer. One is it's a collaboration beer. And there are more and more collaboration beers where different breweries get together to make a beer together. But this one's kind of crazy because it's three really kind of cult breweries that all got together to make one beer. It's Other Half from Brooklyn, Omnipollo from Sweden, and Tired Hands from, I think they're from North Carolina.
Wow.
They all got together and brewed a beer together. So that's kind of unique. The other unique thing is this beer has white chocolate in it. I know. Weird, right? You've heard of beers with regular chocolate, dark chocolate, but this beer has white chocolate in it. And so what it does, it's an IPA that totally does not taste like an IPA because the white chocolate kind of gives it this fat consistency and makes it so smooth.
Awesome.
It's almost like a dessert. It's really good.
Yep.
You don't really taste the hops, even though it's a very hopped beer. You more just taste like a really smooth mango white chocolate kind of dessert drink. I don't know why they called it Debbie Downer, because it's not a downer, it's an upper for sure.
Well,
Nice.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. But it's a fun beer. If you're in New York this summer, maybe you'll find a can of it somewhere. It's hard to get.
Where did you find this?
I actually went to Other Half, the brewery, and got one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Debbie Downer.
Yeah. So I'm not saying you could go find this, but if you ever see a beer with white chocolate, it's worth a taste because
And if you don't,
it adds
just
a really
eat some white chocolate with the beer.
Exactly. Just eat some white chocolate and drink the beer.
Oh, chocolate and beer are a great combination.
Really?
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Chocolate, I would agree chocolate and port.
No,
Some
chocolate,
wines.
M&M's and beer, classic.
I haven't tried that. It sounds good though.
You could
Oh, we
you
should
float them in
mention
there.
next
It's like
Maybe we could.
And speaking of beer and events, we should talk
Yes.
about next week.
I was going to say, maybe you could have some at your Toronto event.
Yes. So Paul and I are going to be in Toronto next week. We're going to be at the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference there. And we're doing Windows Weekly Live in Toronto at the show on Wednesday. It's going to be a little later than our usual time. I think we're going to start at 2:30 because of room logistics. But it's open to anyone who's at the show. We're in the show schedule, so just look us up and come at 2:30 and you can be in the live audience.
Yay.
We're still trying to pull off a meetup there.
Yeah.
It's just been a little busy and we haven't quite got that nailed down yet. We may just end up drinking somewhere and tweeting, hey, come meet us somewhere, which wouldn't be the worst thing.
Well, the chances are pretty good we're going to end up drinking somewhere.
Yes.
The question is whether we invite anyone else. But I think hopefully we can have a formal meetup. If not, I guess we'll do that at least.
Yeah. And Brad will be there too, right? So Brad,
Yep.
join us. So
Yeah,
it'll be
Michelle's coming as well from Blue Whale.
great. Yep.
So that'll be good.
So yeah. So next week we'll be live from Toronto when you see us.
We can promise drinking will occur.
Yes, that's true.
It's whether it will be a formal event or not is
We're going to try to make it happen. Still working on it.
Good.
Yep.
Sounds awesome. Yep. Sounds very, very awesome. And are we going to have help from Andrew Zarian? How are we going to make this happen?
Nope.
Alex,
oh, boy.
Alex has been working with the show crew at the partner show to set it all up.
Okay.
Yep.
Microsoft has the technology.
They do.
It's gonna work. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Nice. Okay.
And when it doesn't, I'll just go back to my hotel room and
cry.
Do it from there. Yeah, cry for the bed. Eat some white chocolate. Drink some beer.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, boys and girl, for joining us today. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. You'll be in Toronto next week. That's fun. Mm-hmm. People want to tune in live. Make sure that you do.
Yep.
You can watch the festivities. Chat room, too. We always like having people in the chat room at irc.twit.tv.
Next week, we'll only accept chat room participants from Canada.
Okay. You'll have to have a Canadian flag in your handle.
Eh?
Yep.
They hate it when you do that. They hate it when you do that. I'm just warning you now that you're going to Toronto. I just want to tell you. Let's see. If you can't watch it live, though, we do have on-demand audio and video after the fact. twit.tv/WW or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you watch. Make sure you subscribe. You want to get it every week because there's always good stuff. And we really hate it when you ask us questions we've already answered in the weeks past.
Well, it's nice having the answer.
That's true. Yeah, we'll answer the same question over and over, frankly.
I used to say that on my Ask Paul page. Don't ask me questions I don't know the answer to.
Right. Very important. You'll find that. Do you still do Ask Paul on Thurrott.com?
Yeah, I don't do it very often. I gotta figure out a process.
It's called Don't Ask Paul now.
No, you can ask.
You can ask. Just no answer.
Good.
THURROTT spells Thurrott. All about Microsoft.com. From Mary Jo Foley. Thanks. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.